am Collette Portis. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am an absolute nerd. I love information. I love learning. I'm an educator. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. And so I do all of these things. But if I had to pick one word that identified who I am absolutely a connector. And so my goal today is to help all of you become better at that one thing. So there's one thing that they taught us, or they told us, and that was, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And somehow at some point in life, we all started to focus on the what we know. So I know for myself, I went to college, I got 6 degrees, complete overkill. I don't recommend anybody do it 6 times. That's way too much. But thank you, Pastor Winfield, but I focused so much on what I knew, and what I realized was what I knew never got me to the quote unquote American dream, or what I was really working to achieve. And at some point I learned that it was just as your grandparents and parents told you, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So what I'm going to teach you today is how to work the who you know, but we're also going to figure out who it is that you need to know, because that's the thing that nobody ever tells us. All of us know a lot of people. We all know that. And what we learned with Valerie is that there's 4 categories that you need to put, or 4 identifiers that you put on the people that are in your circle. And one of the things that we hear is your network is only as great as your net worth is only as great as your network. So today I am going to help you increase your net worth via your network. So I am going to share my screen with you. I'm so glad to see all of you on. So somebody said, who knows? Oh, yes. Deborah says, I know folks. I do. I know folks. So I'm working with 2 screens, y'all. So if y'all see my head turn, it's not because I'm not paying attention. So Valerie shared this same quote or African proverb that I absolutely love, that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that is so true. And I have found that personally to be true in my own life, and the way that I manage my life, and the things I've been able to accomplish and achieve. There's a certain amount of things you can accomplish by yourself. Going to college, getting a degree, I could do that on my own. But to take that information and actually maximize it and make it beneficial to not just my life, but the life of others, the life of my family, the life of my friends and those in my circle, that took work, and that took work by not just me, but other people. So I already told you who I am. I always jump ahead of my slides, so I'm gonna go to the next one. I'm sorry, let me go back. All right, so we're gonna talk about 3 steps to building a powerful network. So I'm gonna help you thrive rather than survive. Right now, there's a lot of us in survival mode. And I promise you that it's not an absolute, we don't absolutely have to be in survivor mode. We can really be thriving, and there are lots of us out there that are out here that are thriving. And one of the things that I say pretty often lately is myself and my tribe, we've run 10 laps already, and there's others who have sat down and they've stopped running the race. And so once everything is up and going again, then we will have already run our 10 laps, and we can take a break for 1 lap, but we're still going to be 9 laps ahead. So I want to help you run your race. I want to help you get there. So there's 3 unique, you see revenue driving girl powers, but there's 3 unique ways to drive your network. And that's going to be to connect, to collaborate, and to nurture. So if you have the handout that was emailed to you, you'll see that on that handout. And then I'm also going to help you understand the 8 ecosystems you need to turn your connections into capital. So oftentimes when we hear things like your net worth is equal to your network, we don't really understand. Nobody ever tells us what that network should look like. But your network has 8 ecosystems inside of it, and you need people in all of those ecosystems. When you have a strong network, you should be able to make at max 3 phone calls to get anything done that you need to get done. If you have potholes in your street and they were driving you crazy and you really needed to get these potholes fixed in your street, or you had a street light out in the front of your salon and your clients are leaving at night and it's really dark, you should be able to make at max 3 phone calls to make something happen and to create some change. Okay, where's my cursor? Okay, so hopefully you got your pen and your paper and you've got your handout. You can put your questions in the chat. Deborah's going to be manning the chat and putting some great stuff in there. So if I say something really great, listen, I'm a church girl, so I need to see amen, hallelujah, that's right, word up, you did it, she did that, you said all of those different things in the chat. Let me know you understand what I'm saying, that you are picking up what I'm putting down, okay? And then we're also going to have some question and answer at the end. So I see you say word up and amen. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about who you want to meet. And so, as I mentioned before, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always talking to the business community. But I want you to know, whether you have a for-profit or a nonprofit, this information is still pertinent to your business or organization. While I get it that nonprofits serve the community as a whole, you still have to have a focus to maximize your impact. It's not just about being there and available to offer a service. It's really about the impact and the imprint that you leave on your community, whether that community is local, statewide, national, international, whatever it is. It requires focus to really leave an impact. So let's start with your ideal buyer. When you're talking about your ideal buyer, there are some things that you have to identify. There are some things you have to think about. And when you're thinking about your ideal buyer, I want you to know that it is not a limitation. Understanding who your ideal buyer is does not mean that you can't serve other people. It just means that for this 12-month period, this is who I'm going to focus on. And that this needs to be whomever it fits inside of your ideal buyer. Your ideal buyer is your ideal customer that you want, that you love. It's the favorite customer, it's your favorite church member, it's your favorite, volunteer. It's the one that you love and you go, oh my God, I wish I had more of them. You're going to also want to have your mentors, and you're also going to want to have your power connectors. Listen, if you are not the kind of person who connects with people really easily, you have to be sure to have a power connector in your crew. It's necessary. So let's talk about some characteristics of your ideal buyer, your favorite customer. So the first thing you want to figure out is, how old are they? And this, again, this applies to everyone. It doesn't matter what kind of business or organization you have. You want to figure out, how old are they? So if you're a business owner, you want to think about, who is it that I really want to serve this year? Or who is it that I would really like to have more of? Is it the millennials? Is it singles? Is it families? Who would I like to have more of? If you have a nonprofit organization, Who would you like to have represented more in your organization and that you really want to focus on increasing this year for 12 months? That's it. For 12 months. Now, that doesn't mean that in that 12 months, you can't take money from somebody else or you can't serve someone else. You absolutely can. But when you start thinking about marketing and things like that, and the networking events you're going to go to, the organizations you're going to be connected with, when you start thinking about that kind of stuff, you want to be focused because you don't want to be everywhere. So you want to figure out how old they are, and you're going to keep that range within a 10 to 15 year range. So I am going to unshare my screen for just a moment because I'm going to do an exercise with you guys, and I want to see your faces. So if your camera is off, if you can turn your camera on, that would be great for this exercise. So here's what I want everybody to do. I want everybody to get in their mind the tech-savvy teenager. You got them? Shake your head when you got them. Yes, okay. Now, I want you to get in your mind your 55-year-old auntie, brother, sister, cousin, whoever, they're 55. You got them? Yes? Okay. Now, grandpa. You got your grandpa in mind? Yeah? Okay. So now here's what I want. This is the scenario. Now you're going to take the tech-savvy teenager, the 55-year-old, and grandpa, and you're going to tell them, come to the table because I am going to teach all of you how to go live on Facebook. Now I want you to put up the number of fingers. Is that one conversation, two conversations, or three conversations? Absolutely. Three conversations, right? And let me tell you why it's three. So this is what happened with the tech-savvy teenager. They ascended out of their room annoyed that, first of all, you just learned how to go live because your friend just told you 20 minutes ago on the phone, and you're excited and you think you're going to teach them how to do it. While ascending out of their room, they've got you live on Facebook making fun of you with their friends, because that's what really happens, right? Now, for those of us who are 40 and over, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, what is our problem when it comes to social media? We can't remember our password. That is the truth. We all know it. And God forbid we got a new phone and we got to figure out how to use the new phone and log into social media. That's going to be an hour. But at minimum, it's going to be 30 minutes because we're going to try all the passwords we can remember until we finally just reset the password, which means the next time we got to log in, we don't know the password then either, right? So 30 minutes it takes before I can even get into my Facebook. Now let's talk about grandpa. So here's what grandpa's doing. Grandpa has his shoes and coat on, and grandpa cannot understand why you youngins are not dressed. Did you not just say we were about to go somewhere? So grandpa don't understand, if we're leaving, why am I the only one with my shoes and coat on, right? Grandpa really thinks we're gonna go somewhere. So you tell grandpa, no, grandpa, we're not leaving, we're about to go live. Well, you just said we were about to go. No, we're going live on Facebook. Well, what is Facebook? Well, Facebook is so, what is social media? Social media is on, well, what is internet? Well, internet's on the computer. Well, how do you turn that thing on? Now, at this point, you are 90 days into a conversation with grandpa, right? Now, the tech-savvy teenager has helped a 55-year-old reset their password. And the 55-year-old went to cook dinner, the teenager and the 55-year-old has eaten dinner, and you are 90 days into a conversation with grandpa and y'all still ain't got back to Facebook Live. That is what we do in our business every single day. If your idea is that every day I'm just gonna strike out to help everybody I can absolutely touch, that is what you're doing in your business every day. You have to focus on who I'm helping today. Because wouldn't you think it would be helpful if I said the group that I'm going to help is going to be age 20 to 35. They're going to be single, right? And their mindset is that they have the growth mindset. They're really healthy eaters, and they want to live a great lifestyle, and they like the experience lifestyle. Because then what does that mean? What I'm listening on YouTube should be around that group. What I'm reading should be around that group. What social media platform should I be on if that's my group? Should I be on Facebook if my group is age 20 to 35? Nah. All their parents are hanging out there. I should be on Instagram though. I should be on TikTok, right? And I should be on, I can't remember the other one that I absolutely refuse to do, because guess what? I'm not 20 to 35, right? Snapchat, there you go. They're on Snapchat, if that's even still a thing, right? Why would I be advertising on Facebook if my audience is on Instagram or Snapchat? Make sense? All right. So we need to understand, I'm going to share my screen with you again. All right. So we need to understand what their age is, 10 to 15 year range. No, it can't be 17 years. No, it can't be 20. It can only be 10 to 15, right? What's their gender? Are they male or female or both? Are they married or are they single? Okay. What's their annual income? That is so important. It doesn't matter if you have a for-profit or a nonprofit. What is their annual income? And I want to tell you why that's so important in just a moment. We talked about their mindset. Are they healthy? Do they live a healthy lifestyle? Are they lifelong learners? What kind of people are they? What's their mindset? We talked about where they hang out at, what social media platforms they're on. Where do they shop at? Okay. All right. So what you want to make sure that you're doing with your network, once you figure out who this group is, then you want to be the first one to add value. So if you're the kind of person like I am, so I do a lot on LinkedIn. So if somebody sends you, are you the kind of person who, when somebody sends you a message on LinkedIn that says, hey, this is my name and I sell this and blah, 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 do you actually respond and go, oh yeah, I'd like to buy? No. But how many people do that every day? Right? You're not adding value to me. Hold up, cuz I don't even know you like that. Right? I don't know if this is a scam or not. I'm not sending you my money. See, Cash App you what? No. Right? I don't know you. So why would I just be sending you my money? I'm not going to do that. And I don't know if you have any credibility to say whether or not you can do what you say you can do. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Don't try to advertise anything to somebody who don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. You've not given them an opportunity to do any of those things, okay? So the question is, once you've determined who your ideal buyer, who your favorite customer is, can they afford you? Can they afford your solution? So here's the thing. In the US, the average household income is $55,000 a year for a family of 4. For a family of 4, the average household expenses annually is $52,000. So what does that mean? Families only have $2,000 in expendable income outside of their basics a year. So if your service is, say, $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. You're asking them to go in debt by $4,000 a year just to take on your service. How much is your service? Who is your ideal buyer, and can they afford it? If you haven't done that work, you're going to find yourself in that loop where you are frustrated because people want what you have, but they can't afford what you have. And so either one of two things will happen. They won't buy, or they'll ask you to give it to them at a discount. And a lot of times we blame other people for that. That doesn't mean it's all our fault, but a lot of times we blame other people for that. But the issue is not them all the time. A lot of the time, the issue is us because we haven't done this work. So you want to make sure you do this work. Okay. And then what are our ideal buyers' top 3 problems? So here's the thing, especially right now, there are a lot of business owners who have shut their business down simply because their doors are closed. But some of them, a lot of them, this is not the time to shut down. Valerie said it earlier in the earlier session. You have to pivot. How do you pivot? Is your product or service essential to somebody right now? Are you able to solve a problem for someone right now? If you have a business and your business doesn't solve a problem, then you're going to find it challenging to maintain, grow, and build a sustainable business. If you just have another t-shirt company, just because you like t-shirts and you want to put cute sayings on it, that's not necessarily the pathway to a sustainable business. Now, Hanes did something that changed the game some years back. All of us hated the tag in our t-shirts. So what did they do? They created a tagless t-shirt. Genius. Why? Because we would all cut the tags out. So why not put the tag? Why not just take the tags out anyway and put a little stamp on the back, right? Figure out how to resolve a market. An idea in the, problem in the market. You want to know what your ideal buyer's top 3 problems are. What are their top 3 problems? What is it that they have? What is it that's missing from the market? What is it that they're not getting? What is it that they're getting, but it's not sufficient? And then seek to solve that particular problem with your product or service. Okay. And then what products or services do you have to resolve those ideal problems? So on the worksheet you have, there's a space for you to write down your ideal buyer's top 3 problems. You want to write those down, and then right under it, there's space for you to identify what 3 services you provide that can solve problem 1, or what service you provide that can solve problem 1, what service you provide that can solve problem 2, what service you can provide that solves problem 3. Okay, those are the things that you want to know for sure, because if you know that, then you can be of service to your client, because it goes back to, how do I serve people? Being a business owner is not about the collection of money, or not about collecting canned goods and just passing them out. All of this is about servitude. All of this is about, how do I serve my community? How do I serve other people to make sure that I am being an asset to them and bringing them value? Okay, so let's talk about the 8 ecosystems. This is one of my favorite parts. So the sheet, if you have the worksheet there, the ecosystems are on that worksheet as well. So the 8 ecosystems are friends and family. Number one, friends and family. So I'm going to put this slide back up, but I'm going to unshare for right now. So raise your hand. It's okay. This is the no judge zone. This is the trust circle. So I want you to raise your hand if you've been selling a product or service and your family is so sick of you coming to them, talking to them about it. They don't want to come. They don't want to buy nothing. Don't try and sell me nothing else. I don't want to hear about it. And also raise your hand if it has hurt your feelings, because you feel like you're not supported. Come on, I know I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not by myself, right? All of us get to that place. But part of the reason why we get to that place is we're using that part of our ecosystem incorrectly. So let me tell you how to do it, right? So I was on a webinar earlier this morning, And the guy that was hosting the webinar had this cool t-shirt on. It had his branding and stuff like that on there. And my mind thought, I wonder if he got one of those for his mom. I wonder if he got one of those for his sister. I wonder if he got one of those for his favorite cousin, right? Here's one thing about our family. They may not buy, but they'll probably wear a shirt and proudly tell somebody what this shirt means, right? Your family and your friends 9 times out of 10 are not your customer. And listen, take it from me, you probably don't want them to be your customer. They are not always the best customer, right? But they can be your billboard. They can tell people about you. They can champion you in that way. And here's the most valuable piece about it. Your mother may not be your customer, but one of the 5 friends that your mom has probably is, right? Who do they know that you should know? That's a really good question. Y'all should be writing that down. Who do you know that I should know? That's the question that you should be asking. You're not going to your sister or your cousin trying to sell them the shirt. No. Matter of fact, don't even let them buy a shirt. Make them beg you for one and then give it to them. And then make them promise you that they're going to tell other people about it. That's it. But then you get to ask the question, who do you know that I should know? But let me tell you something. You cannot just ask that question by itself. Who do you know that I should know that is between the ages of 20 and 35, that is single, that lives a healthy lifestyle? You see how I brought my ideal buyer back into that? Because I'm sure when I'm asking those questions, that somebody popped up in your head. You thought about somebody who's 20 to 35, who's single, who lives a healthy lifestyle. We have to do a better job of giving people guidance so that we get what we need. But at the same time, we've got to be giving them what they need. Okay? So, your friends and your family. Who's in their circle of influence? Who do you know that I should know? And then making sure when you ask that question, you're asking them specifically that's in this category, giving them the characteristics of your ideal buyer. Okay. All right. So your second category is going to be passions and interests. So for a lot of us, we go to church. So your church is part of your passions and interests. But some of us like to Chicago step. So we dance. Some of us like to ride bikes. Some of us like fitness. Those are your passions and interests. Who's in your circle of influence in that group? And then how does what you do serve them? Because remember, at the end of the day, it is all about service. It is all about servitude. And we're all customers ourselves. And for probably most of us, we probably don't do business with people who don't give us good customer service. That means a lot. Good customer service doesn't mean you just smiled at me when I came in the door. Because guess what? If you go into that store and they smiled at you and said hello when you came through the door, but they didn't have what you needed, you walked right back out the door and you probably didn't have anything in hand and didn't buy anything. Service is about resolving an issue, bringing value, okay? So your passions and interests is number 2. Number 3 is your career and profession. I cannot stress this one enough. I see it way too often. And because I have the privilege as a business coach and an entrepreneur of being inundated in the business community, I see way too often where we say we do something and then somebody shows up and we can't answer the basic questions they have about the industry that we say we're an expert in, right? People have been asking me, well, Collette, what have you been doing? I've been working my tail off since the global timeout. You know why? Because now it's time for me to show and prove. This is the time. If I say that I'm a business coach and I can help you grow your business, what business right now doesn't need my help? Does that make sense? But guess what? If somebody asked me a question, like I had, I spoke at an event, and a lady asked me about the statistic I gave her about the average household income and the average household expenses and things like that. And she said, well, where did you get that from? I was able to give her 3 sources for where I got that from. And of course, she had her phone out and she was Googling. I need you to know, when you open your mouth and you say that you do something, all of us are Googling and asking Siri and asking Alexa. Why wouldn't we be? If we're smart, we would. So I need you to know what you say you know. So in your career and in your profession, you should be studying. You should be listening to podcasts, YouTube. I am an avid student of YouTube University. Listen, they couldn't put me out of there if they wanted to. Yes, Pastor Winfield, you can't put me out of YouTube University. That is the best school I have ever been to. And I did tell y'all I had 6 degrees, right? I'm just saying. Okay? Make sure you know what you know. I was on another call, another coaching webinar with a friend of mine, and a lady came on and she said, well, I'm going to help businesses transition during this time and help their people move to being virtual because they're working at home, they're not going to be as productive. So then I said, well, research shows that people who work from home are 28% more productive than people who actually work at work, right? Never let anybody do that to you. That was the basic that she should have known. So when we're talking about profession, who's around you? Valerie talked about earlier, supporters, parallels, sidekicks, and challengers. Who's that parallel? Who's around you that knows the stuff you know? What are you listening to in the car? Are you listening to the radio station? Are you listening to Audible? Are you listening to a YouTube video? Are you listening to a podcast? Because you have choices all the time. There's a great book. You guys should have gotten the book list in your email. There's a great book that I read once a year called The Slight Edge. And the concept of the slight edge is that every thought and every move you make puts you on one of 2 curves, the success curve or the failure curve. There is no in between. And so when you're driving in the car and you're self-thinking, what curve is it putting you on, right? The choice you made to get in the car and drive to wherever, what curve is that putting you on? Your relationship with the friend that's closest to you and your spouse keep telling you that's not your friend. Is that person, that relationship putting you on the success curve or the failure curve? Are they helping you to get to where you want to go? It was so great when Valerie broke down supporters, parallels, sidekicks, and challenges. But one of the points that she kept making is that these are people who are going to help you move forward. At the same time, you have to understand that you have to help them move forward as well, okay? Because at the end of the day, all of this is about service. Next is government and politics. Who do you know in your local government? Do you know your council person? Do you know your mayor? Have you been to anything that your mayor's done? Have you had a conversation with them? Have you written your senator about something that you've been concerned about? Or are we just complaining about it, right? Do you know that your councilmen and your senators, they all have people that you can talk to that go to all kinds of events all over the state to hear what you have to say? Who do you know? Who do you know that can make things happen for you? If there's people driving 50 miles an hour down the 25 speed limit, down your street that has a 25 mile an hour speed limit and your grandkids are out there, who do you call for help? And if it takes you more than 3 calls, you have really got to work on that network, okay? Do your due diligence, be a resource, because when people know that you know one thing, they think you know everything. And so they're going to come to you as a resource. I pride myself in never saying, I don't know. I always say, I'm not sure, but I know somebody who does know, right? If you're a business owner and entrepreneur, you are resourceful. All it means to be a business owner and entrepreneur is that you resolve problems, period. That is it at the root of it. And so if you can't solve problems, then how do I trust that you are going to solve my problem with whatever product or service you're trying to give me? Good? Okay. So your next category is going to be finance. And unfortunately, this is a topic that not many of us like to talk about, but it is absolutely pertinent to our lives. We don't like to talk about it, but we pray to God about it all the time. It's like the top 3 at all times on the prayer list. But you have to start working on getting people in your space who can help you with this too. So here's a question. How many of you, by show of hands, y'all didn't raise your hand, you can hit the little reaction button that raises your hand. By show of hands, have a relationship with your banker? Yes? Okay, good. So how many of you know what kind of lending your banking institution favors? Meaning, does your bank like to lend to development projects or startups or women-owned businesses or blue-zone businesses? Do you know that? Because when you are picking that establishment that you're going to establish your business bank account at, that's probably an important question to ask, right? Like, okay, wait a minute. If I'm gonna give y'all my money, someday I'm gonna have to come and ask y'all for some money. But do you favor the kind of what I'm going to need? I'm a small woman-owned business. How often do you lend to small women-owned businesses? Good question to write down. How often do you lend to this kind of business? And then on average, how much do you lend to this kind of business? Followed up by, compared to other businesses, how much do you lend to this kind of business? That's important when you're a woman-owned business, you're a minority-owned business, because the truth of the matter is, there are some places that just because you're a woman or just because you're a minority, we're going to give you 20 or 30% less than we would give someone else. You want to know if your bank does that, right? Because that's important information to know. You're doing business. This is a business relationship. All of the relationships that I build are win-win-win. If it does not meet those 3 requirements, I am not doing it. That means it has to be a win for you, a win for our collective client base, and a win for me. And you can make that happen. Does it take a little more work in some cases? Yes. But I promise you it's more rewarding when you do, and it helps you to build your ecosystem, okay? Next, one of these ecosystems that we miss as small business owners is media. Who do you know in the media? Have you done a press release to announce the fact that you started this new business? Who do you know? Do you already know somebody? Does somebody you went to high school with, are they in the media? What kind of media outlets can you go and do an interview on? Have you done any podcast interviews? There's so many podcasts these days. Oh my God. And podcasters are searching for people to interview. But let me tell you something. When you go to that podcast and they ask you to interview, here's what you want to ask. Do you serve, or does your audience include singles who are aged 20 to 35, who are health conscious? You see how I brought it back? Right? Keeping it all together. Because what point does it make if that's the audience you serve and you on the AARP podcast? I'm just saying, nothing against AARP. Well, I'm real close to getting my card. I'm real close to being a card holding member. I'm just saying though, If I serve 20 to 35-year-olds, honey, they don't even know what AARP is at this point, right? So why are you on that podcast? It doesn't make sense. Yes, some people heard you, but they don't even know what Snapchat is. Come on, man, make it make sense, right? So who do you know that's in the media? Have you advertised the fact, or have you announced the fact that you just opened your building? You just opened a new location. Are you a member of the chamber so they can come and make a big deal about it? And here's the other piece too. You don't just join the chamber because they're your local chamber. Who do they serve? Do they serve the small business? Do they serve the minority-owned business? There are some chambers that are completely focused on big business. They want to bring the Amazons and Googles, and that's what they're focused on. So are their resources going to be good for you? You might not have gotten to that point yet. If you did, kudos to you. Let me hold $20, right? But if not, you want to ask these organizations and companies and things like that that you're connecting with those pertinent questions. How do you serve me? Rather than, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs and small business owners, we give up a lot of money that ends up not being an investment in ourselves and not being an investment in our business. Next is industry. So when I say industry, let's say you're a cleaning company, right? And I don't know, just a couple weeks ago, tissue was pretty scarce, right? Nobody could find it. But say you're a cleaning company and you have to stock the bathrooms in a 12-story building and you cannot find tissue. Uh-oh. You cannot tell your customer, your client, that we sorry because we can't find no tissue. We went everywhere. You can't tell them that. Wouldn't it make sense to know somebody in the industry that say, I can hook you up? You know, we got 12 rows exactly. So y'all gonna have to split them up between 2 old rows and put them in the back, right? At least you have something, but you had somebody in the industry that could help you get what you need. And then lastly is community. So this is where I have found in my own personal experience, my own businesses, to be the most advantageous and the most beneficial for me is my community. Doing things like this, EDUFest, doing speaking at schools, sitting on the board for 2 YMCAs in Fort Worth. All of the community things that I do, sitting on a board for an organization in Dallas, all of the community things that I do, because who do you think is sitting on those boards? You think I'm making really good connections and relationships with the other board members? How are you influencing your industry in your community? Should you be sitting on a board? I sit on an advisory board for Fort Worth ISD because they're about to include in their curriculum some entrepreneurial curriculum into all of their schools. I sit on that advisory board. Why? I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I want whatever you're teaching them, I want it to be good, because at some point they're going to interact with me. And so if I want to help keep my community healthy, my industry healthy, then I've got to be active in that. So what are you doing? If you're not on a board, if you're not looking at, if you have a salon and you don't know what TDLR is saying, I don't own a salon, but I have clients who do. So I know I'm on the mailing list for TDLR. Why? Because I need to know how to continue to advise my client. Does that make sense? I need to know when the salon is open. I need to know what, I need to be able to say to them, you may not be able to go into your salon right now, but here's what you can do. Tell your clients to go to the store and buy these supplies, and then get on Zoom with them and teach them how to cut their hair. Now, they ain't gonna leave you because they can't wait to throw them clippers away as soon as, all of this is over and they can get back into the chair. But let me tell you something. It's some, I'm sorry, guys, but it's some rough looking fellas out here. At least, you know, we can do our hair or put on a wig or a ponytail or something. But I'll tell you, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize, right? But I don't know, guys. Would you love your barber to call you and say, hey, you cash out me $25, I'm gonna get on here and teach you how to cut your beard up, right? You see what I'm saying? Especially when you still gotta do this every day. You still gotta show up. You cannot not show up for your people. So you would probably prefer not to be rough looking, you know, when you do it. But I needed to know, I needed to have the information in order to be able to serve my client, in order to be able to serve my community, in order to be able to advise them on whether or not they really should be going into people's houses and doing emergency hair anyway. Should we be doing that? Should you be doing that? Or is there another way to get it done? So how are you impacting your community, right? Does your community trust you? Do they know you? What is your community? Have you defined that? If you live in Fort Worth, is Fort Worth your community? Or is just your neighborhood your community? Or just your church? Or is Dallas-Fort Worth your community? And can I just say something? Listen, I promise y'all I'm saying it with the love of the Lord. Please, if you are an entrepreneur, stop saying and stop using the limited mindset that tells you if you live in Fort Worth, you cannot go to Plano. Because I'm just gonna go on and preach. Pastor Winfield, can I preach for 2 seconds? Just 2 seconds. Listen, if God says that he is going to expand our territory and that he is going to give us more than we can ask or think, then why must you limit yourself to one little small zip code? I can't understand it. If he said he would give it to you, why wouldn't you? Listen, the world is my playground. And so you have to stop limiting yourself to thinking that you can only stay in this. All it takes is some gas and a little bit of time. Put on a good book and learn something on the way. My favorite ride is to Plano. It's 45 minutes. Because you know what? I got 45 minutes in this good book. I read about 3 books a month in the car because I'm traveling, I'm moving. There's no territorial boundaries on my life. Purpose has no boundaries. You go where the assignment takes you. All right, I'm done preaching. All right. So everybody, does anybody need a reminder of what the 8 ecosystems are? No, we good? Okay, good. Let's talk about nurturing those ecosystems now, because it's not enough just to go get all of these people. And Valerie made this point earlier today. You got to make sure you're nurturing these relationships. So I mentioned before, my philosophy is I'm not doing it if it's not a win-win-win. It's got to be a win for me. It's got to be a win for you. It's got to be a win for our collective client base. Otherwise, why are we doing that? What are we doing? All right. I want my service to go as far as I can possibly get it to go. So I need to make sure that it's a win-win-win. We have a partnership with an organization that in the 100 years that this organization has been around, they've never had a partnership. But we were blessed enough to be able to build a partnership with this organization. And after about 9 months or so, we came to realize we ain't not winning. Y'all the only ones winning. Y'all cuss the client base ain't even winning. And so we went back and said, okay, hey, love y'all, but we're gonna have to go. Because either that or we're gonna have to change this relationship so that it's a win-win-win. Guess what happened? This is a national organization. All of you know it, right? All of you hope not to get a call from them. But guess what they did? They made an adjustment. They made an adjustment so we can make it a win-win-win. But why did they make an adjustment for a little old us? You know why? Because we bring value. They understood the value of having a relationship with us. They understood that what we were offering them solved their problem, thus solving their customer base's problem. Make sense? All of you have value. Everything that you all are bringing to the market, we need. We are waiting for you. We are looking for you. But you have to figure out who it is that you want to serve so that you can serve us in the best possible way. Okay? So the next step in nurturing is going to be, how can you be of continued value to them? So if there's an organization that you want to partner with, or you thought about, and if you haven't thought about who you want to partner with, think about it. Who would you like to be aligned with? Who would you like to be connected with? But here's the key. When you determine who you would like to be aligned with and connected with, and you might want to write this down because this isn't on your sheet. You want to know what their core values are, what their mission is, and what their vision is. What's the core values of your church? What's the mission of your church? What's the vision of your pastor? Where are they going? And how do you fit into that? How can you add to that? How can you help move that forward? You want to be the same when you're connecting with anybody in your network, especially when you're connecting your business. Make connections that are important to achieving their goals and your goals. So a lot of us get tired. We feel used, abused, overworked by the people that are just sucking information and life out of us. They're not adding anything to us. That's how we feel about it. Well, there's a couple of issues. One is you haven't told them how they can be of service to you. They don't know who you serve. They just know you sell cupcakes. They don't know that you're working on a new cupcake that is going to be for families who want to cut the sugar in their kids, what they feed their kids. And so you're trying to do this sugarless cupcake. If you tell them that, then they can go, oh, my friend Jane doesn't allow her kids to have sugar, so maybe she'll try it, right? We have to be responsible for telling people who we are, what we do, and who we're looking for. And then you want to make sure that you're checking in with them. So one of the things that we do when we build our annual strategy, every year we take a whole 3 days and we close ourselves in a room for 9 hours, all 3 days, and we build out our strategy for what we're going to do the next year in our business. Well, when we do that, we make sure that we schedule out check-ins with what we call them our red champions. Check-ins with our red champions. If any of you follow us on Facebook, you see every Tuesday evening at 6, we go live on Facebook. We're interviewing our red champions because we want the world to know how amazing they are. We have, when we do our champions check-in, we're connecting all of our champions together so they understand how they can help each other, not just us. We bring them tons of value. And it is a reason why people say, Collette just told me to do it, right? Because they understand that if they're connected with me and they go, it's going to be good. It is going to add value to their lives. They know that, okay? So make sure you're checking in with your people. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes left, so I want to make sure I open it up to questions. But before I do that, I do want you, you guys got the ebook, the Tactical Planner. It is a business management planner. It will help you manage your business, manage your day, manage your year so that you are effective in your business. So it is specifically for that. It helps you make sure that you touch the 12 areas in your business that you need to touch every single day in order to grow and build a sustainable business. So those things that we talked about, that worksheet that you're working on, put that in your planner because you need to have that information in there. And then you guys also got a link to the webinar. So it says the 3 revenue driving girl powers, but guys can come too, because I'm sure that men want to know how to make their customers beg them to buy at the same time. And then what else do we have? Oh, and then lastly, okay, so for those of you who want to really accelerate, really grow, you really want to learn how to build out this network, how to nurture, and then really how to use that planner to really change the way you do business and help you create a greater impact in your life and the life of the people that you are connected with, then we have a VIP experience. We keep it to 10 people. That is all. If you are interested in getting the details, put your email address in the chat and we will make sure that we send you that information. But it's a really small group because we do real work. So that planner that you guys got, we teach you how to use it, and you actually start doing some of that work in that planner. And you have to bring an accountability partner too if you're coming, because guess what? You got to be accountable to somebody. And hopefully it's your challenger, which we can't understand not too many people had in their circle, right? But bring somebody who's going to hold your feet to the fire when it comes to making sure that you are good. So I'm going to unmute everybody. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask any question.
Good idea.
Right, any question?
Yes.
If you're asking a question, I think you're on mute.
You want to unmute?
Okay, there you go. You did it and then you muted it back. There you go.
There you go. Hi. I'm getting ready to start a lawn care business, and before I really get it off and going, one thing that I'm doing, and I guess you can give me some advice and make sure I'm doing this right, because I'm starting on my own lawn.
Oh, yeah, baby, give me a minute.
And just trying and doing the various things to make sure my lawn is healthy and everything like that. But I also heard that you said something about listening to more podcasts again. And I do normally go to nurseries and ask questions and things of that nature as well. So, but there is another part of that is that initially I opened that opportunity up to someone else, but I don't, if they're not vested, I guess what is a good way to back out of that?
Back out of having a partner?
Yes. Well, yes, because I see that their gift and their talent is in something else, and I don't want to disrupt that. And at the same time, I don't want to hurt the relationship.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna mute everybody, and then I'll just unmute you. Okay. Okay. So I'm so glad you asked that question, because here's what I want you to know: a partnership is a marriage. Period. It is that. But before you go into partnership with somebody, what happens, because we're human and naturally we gravitate to the people who are like us. If your partner has the same gifts and talents and all of that you have, how do they help you grow? You already got all of that. One of the tools that I use with clients is called a SWOT analysis. I'll tell you what the acronym means. S, strengths. W, weaknesses. O, opportunities. T, threats. I think Pastor Winfield, you talked about it last year in that one session you did. If you are thinking about bringing in a partner, you need to first do that for yourself, have them independently do it for themselves, and then come together to see where you guys overlap. And then you need to see where your threats are, where your opportunities, because that's also going to help you figure out who else you need on your team. But because we naturally gravitate to the people who are like us, a lot of times we build partnerships with people who have the same things as us. We hire assistants who want to do the same thing as we do, and then we get mad because they don't want to push papers. But they don't want to push papers. They want to do what we do. Yeah, they were bright, and she could really do whatever, but that's not, she wanted to do what we do. She didn't want to do what we needed her to do. That's not where her area of interest is. So you want to do some work another good resource is my, so that goalie planner that you all got, there's a companion book, which is the strategy guide. That companion book, which is the goalie business strategy guide, helps you to define your mission, your vision, your core values, what your goals are, because then you need to match that with the person that you're going to be in partnership with. Are you all going the same direction? Do you desire the same thing, or at least something similar? Is your mission the same? How do your core values connect? You really want to make sure you define for you what you want, and then you can you can figure out how to bring someone else in. Does that help? Okay. All right, anybody else have a question? What I saw in the chat. No other questions? Yes, Pastor Winfield.
So my question is about how do you, you said something that's very pertinent in regards to knowing and understanding where your clientele is as far as what they can pay, so that you will not price yourself out of the market. What are some of the things that you can do to make sure that you're not pricing yourself out of the market, number one? And then how do you, within the context of your particular field, come up with a price point that is going to be not just reasonable for people, but also the time that you were putting in?
So Pastor Winfield, let me make sure I heard your question right, because it was a little broken up. So your question one is, how do they make sure that they not price themselves out of the market? How do they determine what their price is?
Yes.
Was there another question?
No, well, those two, but then with the second one, if you know how much a person can afford, or whatever your price point is, concerning what your constituency is or your clientele is, how do you make sure that you do limitation on what you are charging, what your price point?
Yes. Yes. So here's the thing. So your business model is what Pastor Winfield is talking about. So your business model has to be holistic. So one thing that you can do, and it's one great resource, is the SBDC. The SBDC is great at market research. You must know your market, because a lot of times we assume because Plano and Frisco is where people have money at, right? We assume that that's our market. It doesn't matter that people have money there. Is that market saturated with the product or service that you offer? Are there too many people there that offer the same? Is there a market around here? Maybe Bulk Springs has nobody that serves that market, but they have a need for what we offer. So that's one. So do some market research, connect with the SBDC, because they're great at that. We actually go to the SBDC when we need to do market research ourselves. Number two is SBDC, the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
Yes. Deborah will put that in the chat. So that's one of the things. When you're talking about pricing, when your market research is going to help you understand what the price is around your product or service. And another good resource, I'll send it to Tiffany because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's on the SBDC's web page down at the bottom. It's a really great tool that I use all the time. But when you're pricing, this is a problem that a lot of people have. And to be honest, it's a problem that a lot of people of color have. When you're pricing your product or service, you want to understand what the high and the lows are, and the median is in your market for that type of service. But next, you also want to evaluate who you are and what you do and what you offer. What do you bring to the table? For me, I bring 6 degrees. I've had a business since I've been in business since I was 14 years
Get
old.
from over there.
I've had all of these different experiences. So my personal value is high. So my personal value coupled with what the market
Get
says,
from over there. Pick those up and bring them over here.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What the market says that it can stand is how you're going to determine your price. But the other thing is, there is, no, I didn't send this to you guys. There's another resource that we use called the one-page business plan. And if you've never heard of it, you should find it and you should do it. The one-page business plan is going to help you understand what your revenue streams are and then what your costs are. You got to know how much it's going to cost you to do this. So one of the things that we help with, or the services we offer at Red Development Group, is helping you to understand whether or not that government contract is one you should take. It might be, you know, $3.2 million. I have a friend who has a $3.2 million contract with the federal government right now. But that $3.2 million contract only pays him $32,000 a year out of 3.2 million. Is that profit margin good based on what he's spending and the time he's spending and what he's having to do and the people he has to pay and all of that? So you want to consider, what does it cost you to offer that product or service? And cost is everything. So for instance, we're using Zoom right now. Portis House Fort Worth has to consider the cost of Zoom in their expenses if you deliver services using this medium. So you want to know what your cost is, what your personal value is, and what the market can stand. Does that answer your question, Pastor Winfield? Okay. Any other questions?
Hey, thank you, Pastor, in the Portis House, Fort Worth.
Yes. Thank you for always allowing me to influence your audience. I am so grateful. I love doing anything with you guys because y'all treat me so well. I brag on y'all all the time. So I love what you're doing. Please keep doing it. Thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to influence you today. Connect with me okay, so you can't connect with me personally on Facebook because it's full and I don't have no more room, but you can go to Red Development Group. You can connect with us on Red Development Group on Facebook. On Instagram, you can connect with either Collette Portis or Red Development Group. Same on LinkedIn. And then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Realize Destiny is my radio show, where I interview business owners that have been in business for 5 years or more. And they're just talking about their journey and their ups and downs and how they overcame obstacles and what kind of obstacles they faced. So it's really great for business owners to understand, one, you're not a man on an island, and to just get some tips that you wouldn't have otherwise have been able to get. And then Red Women Win is the Red Development Group YouTube channel as well. And there's some great information out there.